Jungkook always makes Jimin cry. In a reality more jarring than any grand stage scenario, an unexpected event occurred behind the tight fences of South Korea's 5th Division military barracks. Jungkook, BTS's golden magne, is said to be the reason behind Jimin's silent tears, a teammate, best friend, and someone who has been with him for more than a decade. However, this isn't a story of betrayal. It is a narrative full of pain and sacrifice, where friendship is tested in its quietest form, an inevitable goodbye. What really happened between these two K-pop icons during their military service? And why are armies around the world feeling deeply emotional? The silence in the barracks wasn't just quiet. It held Jimin's soft cries, masked by short laughter during morning roll calls. Some soldiers might not have noticed, but there was a clear change in the dynamic between these two figures. Jungkook, usually the more expressive one, took on the role of comforter, guide. He didn't just encourage Jimin with words, but with a constant presence, almost like a silent guardian. Yet, it was Jungkook's very presence that made Jimin more fragile. This paradox raises many questions. Why does someone who should provide strength instead spark tears? Is the looming sense of loss so deep that the intimacy of their friendship became a wound too early? Jimin isn't crying because Jungkook hurt him. He's crying because he knows their time in the small world they created together in the 5th Division is about to end. So said an unnamed source, a senior staff member at the barracks. This is reinforced by an indirect statement from Jimin in a leaked internal letter. It feels strange waking up without the sound of his breathing next to me. To the public, they might just be 2 of the 7 members of BTS. But behind military walls, they are 2 people learning to live with each other under the harshest and least entertaining conditions. Jimin, known for his sweet smile and unmatched warmth, became quieter mid-service. Jungkook, usually cheerful, became a silent protector. They looked out for each other, but time was the enemy they couldn't fight together. The most heartbreaking? Their discharge schedules differ. Jungkook is set to leave 3 days earlier. 3 days, a small number, yet for Jimin, it marks the beginning of the emptiness he's always feared in dreams. To a senior officer, Jimin once softly said, "I'm scared not because of the outside world, but because I know there won't be Jungkook's voice at night anymore." Their final moments were filled with silence, not because there was nothing to say, but because every word would become a memory. Even dinner together in the military canteen turned from routine into a symbol of closeness about to vanish. A soldier once saw Jimin staring blankly at his plate, then forcing a smile when Jungkook arrived with his favorite food, for Army. This story is more than just military dynamics. This is the human side of 2 figures they've long adored. They didn't just serve as a national duty, but turned it into a chance to create something meaningful. A secret project, a music piece reportedly recorded in silence during rest times, with help from Lieutenant Park, a military officer secretly a BTS fan. The project is called A Gift to the World, an emotional collaboration between Jungkook and Jimin during the quietest time of their lives. No luxury studio, no premium instruments. Just snippets of lyrics, midnight whispers, and a simple recorder shared secretly by Lieutenant Park. This isn't just a song. It's a record of the heart, said Lieutenant Park in an internal memo. He even described those collaboration moments as some of the most touching in his military career. They wrote for each other before they wrote for the world. It's no wonder armies worldwide responded with an emotional wave. Social media was filled with hashtags like #ProtectJimin, #WaitForJungkook, and #5th Division Chronicles. They realized that beyond fame and camera flashes, these 2 men found each other in the most human way, friends who heal each other, but also the ones who can open the deepest wounds. Ironically, Jimin's tears aren't just his. They represent thousands of emotions felt by fans. They symbolize loss, hope, and gratitude all at once. Jungkook, in silence, may have never intended to make Jimin cry, but it was their closeness that opened the deepest part of Jimin's heart. As their discharge day approached, Jimin was handed a small piece of paper by Jungkook, a handwritten note kept tightly in his wallet. "When you feel alone, close your eyes. I'm there, never far." That note has gone viral among armies after a staff member leaked it on a private forum. A simple sentence that has become the most touching quote of the year within the global fandom. June will come, and with it, these two great names will step out of military gates, back into a world where cameras never sleep. But they know the outside world can never be the same as the one they left behind. A world where they were just Jimin and Jungkook. Not superstars, not idols, just two friends holding each other through long, silent nights. And for ARMY, this story is not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where Jimin's tears become a reminder that true love doesn't always come in words, but in silence, in hugs, and in the courage to say goodbye. The story of Jungkook and Jimin leaning on each other during military service in the 5th Division has shaken the digital space of BTS fans around the world. Jimin's tears, Jungkook's comforting words, the secret project said to be a gift to the world. All these narratives seem so touching, even heart-wrenching. But amid the flood of empathy and support on social media, one much more important and fundamental question arises. Do we truly know if any of this is real? Or are we part of a narrative carefully crafted to manipulate our emotions? The fact that most of this information comes from platforms like TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and other unofficial channels should be enough to raise caution. Are we witnessing a moment of truth between two K-pop stars supporting each other behind military walls? Or is this a product of the entertainment industry's machinery that knows exactly how to stir mass emotion for existence and exposure? Let's retrace. How could so much personal information, even private conversations behind military barracks, spread so widely as to form a complete narrative like a drama script? Who leaked it? How? Is it right to believe emotional details like Jungkook's small note or Jimin's whispers on quiet nights without clear, accountable primary sources? We all know that celebrity life, especially if someone as big as BTS, is always in the spotlight. And often, emotional stories like this are used by certain parties, overzealous fans, traffic-seeking social media accounts, or even the entertainment industry itself, to shape perception and build modern mythology around their idols. So before we sink into this narrative, shouldn't we ask, who benefits from all this? Did Jungkook really write a small note to Jimin? Did they really record a secret song during rest times, under Lieutenant Park's supervision, a figure whose identity has never been verified by official media? Did Jimin truly cry every night out of fear of being left behind? Or are we being fed an emotionally effective scenario, but with little proof? Let's reflect together. If all this is a hoax, a narrative written to move hearts, unite a community, or even strengthen the brand image of the world's biggest artists, is that wrong? Is emotional manipulation acceptable when the end result is stronger fan connection and unshakable loyalty? But on the other hand, what's the biggest risk in fully believing a story that hasn't been verified? One is the blurring of lines between reality and illusion. In a world increasingly driven by virality, we must ask, are we loving the real humans named Park Jimin and John Jungkook, or just their romanticized versions created by algorithms and content needs? We do not intend to deny this story outright. Nor do we want to belittle armies who feel emotionally connected to this narrative. But what we emphasize here is the importance of being smart, critical, and information-aware fans. Asking questions doesn't mean doubting love. Verifying doesn't mean not trusting. But in a digital world full of incomplete and often fabricated information, skepticism is the highest form of respect for truth. These are the questions we pose to you, the reader. Are you sure this story really comes from a reliable source? Can you distinguish between narratives built to shape image and actual facts? Why did a story like this appear just as BTS members are completing their military service? Is its timing a coincidence? Who first spread this story? And have official media like HYB or national Korean news outlets ever confirmed these details? Every event that grabs public attention, especially those that touch on emotions, deserves scrutiny. We live in an age where illusion can seem more real than reality, where edited videos, fanfiction, or speculative content can masquerade as authentic news. So let's not believe too easily. Let's nurture empathy, but also logic. TO armies who have followed this story. Cry if you must, be touched. Hope the story is true, if that strengthens your heart. But still ask yourself one thing. What is really happening behind this story? We close this article by inviting all of you to never stop thinking critically. Discuss this story with fellow fans. Ask about the sources. Clarify the facts. Don't let the beauty of a narrative blur the line between fact and fiction, because in the end, true love for idols doesn't come only from pride and admiration, but from the courage to uphold the integrity of information for those we love.